my performance is Columbine High School shooting, a day that would forever change schools. Lockdown, let's all hide. Lock the doors and stay inside. Crouch on down, don't make a sound or you'll be found. August 30th, 2023. It is my first week back at school and we're already practicing a lockdown drill. I can't help but think of my kindergarten teacher, who always used to sing us that lockdown song in order to make the frightening task of hiding behind our desks a little less scary. I'm a freshman now, and lockdown drills have been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Yet I wonder, who invented lockdown drills and why? There must be one event that stands out as a turning point in history for the reason why we have to practice these awful drills. So I asked my teacher, and she tells me the story. April 20th, 1999. 911, what's your emergency?
Hello? Yes, I'm a teacher at Columbine High School. Betty Nielsen. There's a student here with a gun. I was outside on hall duty when I saw him and he pointed straight at us and shot. The kid standing next to me, I think he got hit. There's alarms and smoke. My God, there is smoke coming into this room. I can hear glass shattering and gunshots, and I'm in the library. Students down! Under the tables, Kate! Take it under the tables! We need police here. He's right outside. On the floor! You guys stay on the floor! Take it under the tables, Kate! Take it under the tables! Oh God, can you please hurry?
April 20th, 2019. Hello, my name is Frank DeAngelis, but you can call me Mr. D. Yes, I was the principal of Columbine High School on that fateful day of April 20th, 1999. 20 years ago. Gosh, I remember it like it was yesterday. You know, the day started out beautiful. Clear blue skies, junior prom was just the weekend before. I was in my office when we heard the gunshots. Students and staff members alike sprinted through the hall screaming, "Mr. D, Mr. D." For a few seconds I thought that it was a senior prank, as we were only a few months away from graduation, but quickly I realized it was real. No one knew what to do, but we had little time to stop and think. All we could do was run and hide. When we made it outside the building, everyone was in shock. I remember how desperate I was to get back into the building, to get to my kids. No one was allowed in. I remember thinking, this isn't happening. Later, I learned that Columbine High School students Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris entered my school at 11:19 a.m. armed with semi-automatic rifles and pistols when the bombs and explosives they had previously planted did not go off. And by 11:35, 12 students were killed, along with my dear friend Dave Sanders, a teacher and coach who sacrificed his life for his students. He got into his profession to have an impact on young lives, not to die in an attempt to save them. It is without a doubt that the Columbine High School tragedy was a day that forever changed schools. Just look at this image. In 1999, the term mass shooting didn't even exist. What I didn't realize all of those years ago was that school shootings would become normalized. School after school appearing on the news, 304 school shootings since Columbine. So much has changed since April 20th, 1999. So much that I can confidently say that the Columbine High School tragedy is a turning point in history for schools across our nation. Since Columbine, schools across our nation have adopted new security measures in hopes to prevent any future threat, including hiring security personnel, installing surveillance cameras, and having locked designated entries. Another big change was the introduction of active school shooter drills called lockdowns. A monthly drill where students pretend there is a shooter in the building and take proper precautions like hiding under their desks and locking and barricading their doors. Many schools have also adopted new curriculums that support student mental health and time now. So much changed in the past 20 years, but I wonder, is it truly working? Did you know that 2022 is the highest number of school shootings yet? 46 in 1 year. And since Columbine, more than 338,000 students across the U.S. have experienced gun violence. And with each tragedy, there's a call to action to create more common sense gun laws, which are laws that ban the sale of military-style assault weapons. Red flag laws have also been adopted in 21 states, which ensure that weapons are not obtained by someone who is deemed risk to themselves or others. I believe what we are doing is not enough. We must do more to end this violence. Every story needs a villain. And for some reason, everyone is always so eager to point their fingers at us, the National Rifle Association. My name is Dana Loesch, and I'm a representative of the NRA here to set the story straight. The NRA and our 5 million innocent law-abiding citizens are absolutely not responsible for all of these school shooting tragedies. The NRA is clear in their understanding that evil walks among us, and the only way it can be stopped is to harden our schools, which means having armed security stationed around our school buildings and teaching teachers how to use their firearms. And can we actually look a little closer at the cause of school shootings? Those firearms did not simply walk themselves into the school. There were plenty of warning signs which went ignored by school officials and teachers who could have prevented the tragedy from even happening in the first place. Again, this is not the NRA's fault. We do care, and in fact, we are working with our elected representatives to develop laws for more responsible gun ownership. But let me be crystal clear. The only way to protect us, to protect our children, is to ensure we all have the right under the Second Amendment to carry a firearm. Lock down, let's all hide. Lock the doors and stay inside. Crouch on down, don't make a sound or you'll be found. Me again, still stuck in this lockdown drill. My English teacher just finished telling us that if there was an actual shooter in the building, we would be escaping out of our classroom window onto the roof of our school. How crazy is that? It is clear to me now that the Columbine High School tragedy was a turning point for schools across our nation. But new lockdown drills, security, and curriculums are not enough. And I understand that my classmates are feeling frustrated and a little helpless, and I get it because I do too, but we can't give up. I know that change always starts with me, so I be a person who has the moral courage to stand up for what's right. Most definitely. Last summer, Congress passed the bipartisan gun control legislation for the first time in 30 years, but it didn't go far enough. Implementing change in the states has always been slow, and one way we can help is to support nonprofit organizations here in Connecticut which teach about gun violence, like the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation in Connecticut Against Gun Violence. And there's so much we can do at school too. In fact, my friends and I are starting a club called the Save Promise Club, which stands for Students Against Violence Everywhere and is sponsored by the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. We are so excited to get started, but I think a good first step would be to make a sign. Now, where is my marker?
So you have a lot of research.
Yes.
And you have several perspectives. I'm just curious, I mean, I could have missed it. Did you actually ask your teachers what they thought, like get some data about how they felt about whether they should be carrying guns or if what's been implemented is working?
I didn't really document it, which I probably should have in hindsight, but I did ask some of my teachers about what they thought about my topic and what they thought. I didn't necessarily ask them about what their opinions would be on carrying a gun, but I did ask them, like,
in your opinion, do you think schools have changed since Columbine? My mom herself is a teacher, so in our household, we've definitely been talking about like her thoughts about carrying guns as a teacher and what has changed since Columbine.
So, you've talked about the changes in the school protocols. Did you come across anything about changes in the police response?
I kind of researched that a little bit. I didn't look into that. My focus, there's so little you can fit in 10 minutes. So I wanted to make sure I was focusing on the schools. Obviously, at Columbine, when I was reading Columbine by Dave Cullen, he described that police, when they entered, they waited a long time to enter the building because that was protocol back then. A lot of people claim that that has changed since Columbine, but then we look at Uvalde when there were over 400 officers and none of them entered the building while children were being slaughtered. So, and I did not come across that in my research, but in my opinion, not a lot has changed.
Thank you. Two-part question. Why did you select performance and why did you select individual performance?
I do theater and I'm also a poet, so speaking comes naturally for me. I participated in National History last year and I did an individual performance about abortion rights. So I really liked it. That was my first time, and at that point my school required us to do individual performance. So this year when I entered the competition, I just assumed I would be doing that again.
Oh, so you're just constantly doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 So I just thought of some more you were answering the question. So, a lot of what you talked about is the changes in education and what you've been doing since then. Do you think, or did you come across anything, you kind of touched upon it with that there really hasn't been any change with the police?
Back to her question, my more focus was the schools. It's definitely become more relevant, like Patty Nielsen, her 911 call, Columbine was a day where the impossible became possible. Nobody was expecting anything like Columbine to happen. So when she placed her call, they were in the primary source that I read in the documented 911 call, they were kind of confused and a little shocked, and that's why the response was so slow, because it was like, why would there be students shooting up the school? So I would say that during my research, I found that now people are more aware of it, but I didn't really research anything about protocols that are new. Again, my more focus was the schools.
Did you write that song, or did your school teacher really sing it to you?
My teacher did sing us that when I was in Rhode Island schools.
Anything else? No. All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you.